Why do some people with average skills end up living extraordinary lives, while others with incredible talent slowly disappear into frustration? Why does the straight-A student, the one everyone believed in, struggle to stay relevant, while the underdog, the one nobody noticed, quietly builds something unstoppable? It doesn't feel fair. It doesn't make sense. And if you're being honest, you've probably asked yourself this question before. Maybe late at night. Maybe after scrolling through someone else's success. Maybe after failing again. You look at them, their confidence, their results, their momentum, and you think, they're just better than me. More talented, more gifted, more lucky. And slowly, without even realizing it, you start shrinking. You stop trying as hard. You hesitate more. You wait for the right moment. You tell yourself, maybe this just isn't for me. But what if everything you've been told about talent, about success, about what it takes to win, is wrong? What if the difference between winning and losing isn't about talent at all? What if it's something far less glamorous, but far more powerful? Something most people ignore, because it's not exciting, it's not flashy, and it doesn't show immediate results. This is the story of two people. Same opportunity, same environment, same starting point, but two completely different outcomes. And somewhere inside this story, you're going to see yourself. So don't just listen. Pay attention. Because this might change how you see your own life. Forever. The kitchen. In the heart of Chicago, there stood a restaurant called Mason and Company. Not just any restaurant. This was the kind of place where reservations were booked months in advance. Where critics came looking for perfection. Where mistakes weren't tolerated. And at the center of it all was Chef Lauren. A name that carried weight. 30 years in the industry. Built his reputation from nothing. Demanding. Precise. Unforgiving. But fair. He didn't care where you came from. He didn't care about your background. He cared about one thing. How you showed up. Every single day. One Monday morning, two new hires walked into his kitchen. They didn't know it yet, but this moment would define their futures. Alex Chen, 25 years old, sharp jawline, clean uniform, confidence in every step. He had done everything right. Graduated top of his class from one of the best culinary schools in the country. Trained under elite chefs. Studied in Europe. Perfect technique. Perfect resume. And deep down, he believed something very simple. I'm already ahead. When he walked into the kitchen, he didn't feel nervous. He felt entitled. This place? He thought. Yeah. I'll master this quickly. Then there was David Martinez. 23 years old. Quiet. Slightly hunched posture. Uniform a little too big. Hands that weren't smooth, but worn. He didn't come from prestige. He didn't have connections. He didn't have a degree. For 3 years, he worked at a small roadside diner, washing dishes, cleaning grease traps, watching, learning, absorbing. At night, he'd go home exhausted, open his laptop, and teach himself. YouTube tutorials, cooking forums, trial and error, failure after failure. But he never stopped. And yet, standing in that kitchen, surrounded by trained professionals, he felt small, out of place, like he didn't belong. Same kitchen, same opportunity, two completely different mindsets. From the very first week, the difference became obvious. Alex showed up exactly on time. Not early, not late. Right on the dot. He did his job. Clean cuts. Precise plating. Technically flawless. But when someone asked for help, he'd glance up, slightly annoyed. That's not my station. That's not my responsibility. I've done my part. In his mind, he wasn't wrong. He believed he was being efficient, professional, focused. David? He showed up 30 minutes early. Every day. Not because anyone told him to, but because he didn't want to fall behind. He stayed late. Even when his shift ended. Even when no one noticed. He asked questions. Sometimes too many. Sometimes awkwardly. But he asked anyway. And when someone struggled, he stepped in. Quietly. Without recognition. Without expectation. At night, David would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling. His thoughts racing. Everyone here is better than me. They went to school. They know things I don't. What if I mess this up? What if they realize I don't belong? The doubt was loud, relentless, heavy. But every morning, he still showed up. 6 weeks passed. The kitchen found its rhythm. Alex remained sharp, but distant. David remained imperfect, but relentless. And then, everything changed. The announcement. It was a Friday morning. The air felt different. Chef Lauren called everyone together. No small talk. No build-up. Just straight to the point. I'm opening a second restaurant. The room shifted. Excitement. Tension. Opportunity. I need a sous chef. Silence. I've been watching all of you. Pause. 2 people stand out. Eyes moved. Heartbeats quickened. Alex. Of course. And David. Shock. Whispers. Confusion. For the next 30 days, you compete. Leadership. Pressure. Creativity. One of you wins. The other stays where they are. Alex smiled. Inside his head. This is already over. I've got the skills. I've got the training. This isn't even close. David? His chest tightened. His mind flooded with doubt. You're not ready. You don't belong here. You're going to embarrass yourself. But then, a quieter voice spoke up. You've made it this far. Just don't quit now. And that voice changed everything. Week 1. Alex performed exactly as expected. Perfect cuts. Perfect execution. Perfect timing. But something was missing. Connection. Leadership. Presence. When a junior cook made a mistake, Alex didn't guide them. He judged them. Seriously? How do you mess that up? His words weren't loud, but they were sharp. And they stuck. David? Still rough. Still learning. Still making mistakes. But when others struggled, he stayed calm. Hey, it's okay. Let's fix it. Here, watch this. He didn't just work. He lifted people. Same kitchen. Same pressure. 2 completely different impacts. Then came the night that exposed everything. The breaking point. Saturday night. Fully booked. High-profile guests. Pressure at its peak. Every second mattered. Every mistake cost something. And then, the main oven broke. Dead. Silence. Then chaos. Orders stacking. Stress rising. Panic spreading. Chef Lauren stepped forward. We adapt. We don't panic. Solutions. Alex froze. His brain searched for structure. For systems. For rules. But there were none. This isn't how it's supposed to go. This isn't fair. This isn't my fault. David stepped forward. Heart pounding. Hand shaking. But voice steady. I've worked like this before. We can use the stovetop. We can adjust. It won't be perfect, but it'll work. And for the next 3 hours, David became the backbone of the kitchen, moving non-stop, thinking fast, helping everyone, holding everything together. Burns on his hands, sweat in his eyes, pain in his body. But he didn't stop. Not once. Alex? He did his tasks. Clean, precise, but isolated, disconnected, complaining quietly, waiting for things to go back to normal. But nothing goes back to normal when pressure reveals who you really are. The lesson. The next morning, the kitchen was silent, empty, still. Chef Lauren called both of them in. No audience, no noise, just truth. 2 knives sat on the counter. One, perfect, expensive, flawless. The other, old, worn, imperfect. This one, he said, lifting the expensive knife, cost $800. Perfect balance, perfect edge. But if I never use it, it's useless. He picked up the old knife. This one cost $20. Look at it. Worn down, handle broken. But I use it every single day. That's why it matters. He looked at Alex. You are this knife. Impressive, but untouched. Then David. You are this one. Not perfect, but dependable. Talent gets attention. Attitude earns trust. Talent starts the race. Attitude finishes it. And in that moment, everything changed. Not instantly, not magically, but internally. Something shifted. Alex stood there, silent, for the first time in a long time. He wasn't confident. He wasn't in control. He wasn't the best. He was exposed. And deep down, he knew it. He thought about every moment. He dismissed someone. Every time he said, "That's not my job." Every time he relied on his talent instead of effort. For years, his identity was built on being the gifted one. The one who didn't have to try as hard. The one who just had it. But now, that identity was cracking. And it scared him. David stood there too. But his thoughts were different. He wasn't thinking about failure anymore. He wasn't thinking, "I don't belong." Because for the first time, someone he respected, someone who had seen hundreds of chefs, looked at him and said, "You do belong." And those words, they hit deeper than anything else. Because sometimes, the biggest thing holding you back isn't your skill, it's your belief. 2 weeks left. That's all they had. 2 weeks. To prove who they really were. The shift. Monday morning. Something felt different. Alex walked in early. Not on time. Early. That had never happened before. He didn't announce it. Didn't make a big deal. He just showed up. Quietly. He watched David prepping. Focused. Consistent. Locked in. For a moment, his pride tried to stop him. "You don't need this. You're already better." But another voice, quieter but stronger, said, "Maybe that's the problem." He took a breath, walked over, and said something he wasn't used to saying. "Need help?" David looked up, surprised, confused, but he nodded. "Yeah, actually." And just like that, something small, but powerful, began. At first, it was awkward. Alex wasn't used to helping. He was used to leading with skill, not humility. But slowly, he stayed a little longer, asked a few questions, helped a junior cook, then another. It wasn't perfect. He slipped sometimes. Old habits don't disappear overnight. But the effort? It was real. David noticed it. Everyone did. Because change, when it's genuine, is hard to ignore. Meanwhile, David was changing too, but in a different way. His hands moved with more confidence. His voice carried more certainty. He stopped second-guessing every decision. Stopped shrinking himself. Stopped apologizing for being there. Because now, he believed something new. I earned this. I belong here. And that belief? It changed how he showed up. Not louder. Not arrogant. Just solid. Grounded. Present. The final test. Then came the final challenge. Chef Lauren gathered them both. This is the last test. Create a dish. Not just any dish. One that represents you. No instructions. No guidelines. Just one rule. Be real. Alex stood there, thinking. His mind raced through techniques. Complex plating. Advanced methods. Everything he had learned. Because that's what he knew. That's where he felt safe. David? He closed his eyes. And instead of thinking about impressing, he thought about something else. His mother's kitchen. The smell of food after a long day. Simple meals. Made with care. Made with love. And he thought, what if I bring that here? Hours passed. The kitchen was quiet. Focused. Heavy with tension. Finally, both dishes were ready. Alex's plate. Beautiful. Precise. Every detail perfect. A masterpiece of technique. David's plate. Simpler. Cleaner. Less complicated. But something about it felt different. Chef Lauren stepped forward. Tasted Alex's dish first. Nodded slowly. Perfect execution. Pause. But Alex's heart skipped. It's missing something. Silence. I don't taste you. I taste your training. Then he turned to David's dish. Took a bite. Closed his eyes. And stayed there for a moment. Longer than expected. When he opened them, something had changed. This tells a story. I can feel this. I can taste why you cook. And in that moment, the decision was already made. The decision. That evening, the entire kitchen gathered. Tension filled the room. Everyone knew what was coming. Chef Lauren stepped forward. I've made my decision. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. But before I announce it, I need to say something. He turned to Alex. You've changed. And that matters. I've seen you try. I've seen you grow. And if you continue like this, you'll go far. Alex nodded. Not proud. Not defeated. Just aware. Then Chef turned to David. You showed me something rare. Consistency. Humility. Effort every single day. He paused. Then said the words. The sous chef position goes to David. Silence. Then emotion. David froze. His eyes filled with tears. Because in his mind, he was still the dishwasher. Still the kid who didn't belong. Still the one who doubted himself. But reality was different now. He didn't win because he was the most talented. He won because he never stopped showing up. The aftermath. 6 months later, the second restaurant opened. And it thrived. Not because it was perfect, but because of the culture inside it. A culture built on effort, respect, teamwork, consistency. David led that kitchen. Not with ego, not with fear, but with presence. He remembered what it felt like to doubt himself. So he never made others feel small. He lifted them. guided them, built them. And Alex? He stayed, but he wasn't the same. He became someone new. He mentored others, helped more, showed up earlier, stayed longer, because now he understood something he never understood before. Talent is a gift, but it's not enough. The truth. So listen carefully, because this part matters the most. Talent is your starting line. Attitude is your finish line. Talent gets you noticed. Attitude gets you respected. Talent opens the door. Attitude keeps you inside. And here's the part nobody tells you. Talent fades if it's not used. But effort? Effort compounds. Every day, every repetition, every moment you choose to show up. When you don't feel like it, so stop waiting. Stop comparing. Stop thinking, I'm not good enough yet. Because you don't need to be the best. You just need to be consistent. Show up when it's hard. Help when it's not your job. Stay when others leave. Learn when you're tired. And most importantly, don't quit. Because in the end, it's not the most talented person who wins. It's the one who refuses to stop. Now ask yourself, not, am I talented enough? But, how do I show up every day? Because that answer decides everything. If this hit you, don't ignore it. Take one action today. Just one. Show up differently. Work a little harder. Help someone. Stay a little longer. And watch what happens. Because your future isn't built on talent. It's built on what you do after this moment. And remember, it's not about where you start. It's about how you show up every single day after.